Well, about to get on the road here to go take Ollie to his first Ohio baseball game, and they're late. They thought they were going to sneak out of the house without having a shower, and I shot them back in there. And I told them it's 9:15. I told you guys to get going because there's an IHOP. They just opened less than a mile from here, maybe half a mile from here. And 9:15 on a Sunday? Yeah. I was ready to go at 8:30. I was ready. So we'll see if we can't get into IHOP. That's it. There's a lot of little breakfast places around here too. So we'll get some breakfast, get on the road, and get going for the Sunday. I know I was hoping that, see, in Canada, it's a long weekend this week, Victoria Day weekend. In the States, next week is Memorial Day weekend, I believe. And Ollie does have a Monday game, but it's Monday evening. We wouldn't get home till late, and he's got a math and science test on Tuesday. So we're going to have to skip the Monday game and head back tonight. I wanted to go with Brace for Landing. You know, we'll talk about the 3-year-olds later on, but, you know, my first take on his race the other day was I was a little disappointed in him making that break, and it wasn't a bad break, and I knew it was more of a mental mistake than anything on his part. And I was wrong about his last half. It wasn't 54-2. It was 53-2 was his last half the other day. An impressive turn of foot. So he's obviously turning a corner, and he's still very immature. You know, you guys hear me talk about Brace for Landing. I guess I may as well start with the 3-year-olds. I'm going to talk about him. You guys hear me talk about Brace for Landing and how I thought there's just something special there. Now, the speed is there. He's not known for his breaks. We did have his feet looked at. Dominic and Amy had both called me the day we left. So, whatever day we left. And told me that his coffin joints are bothering him a little bit. So, we have shoes on to help his feet, and I'm a little surprised they are, but they will. And for a horse with feet that are pinching him, swinging to the pace is usually one of the culprits. That's usually what happens a lot of the time. Stifles and feet. You saw that horse last night. I just happened to tune in to watch James's horse race. He just got picked off in the SBOA, or just got beat closing in the SBOA, and the horse that looked like he was long gone in the front swung to the pace coming out of the turn. Now, it would be unfair for me to say why. I have no idea. Usually racehorses, trotters, when they get pacey or swing to the pace, 3 things do it. Usually one of 3 things. Their feet, and it could be a combination of all 3. Their feet, tie up, or stifles are bothering them. Generally one of those 3, or a combination of those 3, will do it. It was nice to see James's horse finish second. It would have been nice to see him win. But heartbreaking to watch that horse look like he was gone on the front end. That Tuscan Prince, I think his name was, gone on the front end and make the break. And that's racing, right? We're all aware of that. We have lots to talk about this week. This is my first video. Lots to talk about this week about how the horses were racing. And then obviously also, we had some injuries. We have broodmares were breeding, and issues from last year with the mares that just kind of leave a bad taste in our mouth. But nothing can ever be perfect. It's always that, that search for just that perfect day. That day where everything went perfect. There was no injuries. There was no sickness. There was no lameness. The horses all raced good. The horses all trained good. That day, we're always in search of that day, and it just seems so elusive. Anyway, let's get to the 3-year-olds. We talked about Brace for Landing quite quickly. Looking at the math of the race, I was extremely pleased with him. And then finding out exactly what went on with the pacing issue. Yes, we know now. Shouldn't be repeated, I don't think. Never really had a problem with Brace for Landing breaking. Doesn't seem to be any lameness. The only issue with Brace for Landing is, like to see a little more meat on him. But he's just a really hyper kid. Immature physically, and that will come with time. I think he's going to be a horse that we have for quite a long time. And regardless of what he does this year, looking at the physicality of this particular horse, his best races are well in the future also. So, let's get to it. 3-year-olds, absolute euphoria. Great model the other night, 54, 27 flat in the end of it. You know, as I said to James, I was just keeping her quiet. And it turns, I think the feeling I got from this filly, remember, when I qualified her, she was not safe. She felt like she could make a break at any time. Then James qualified her and said, no, the shoeing change that Dominic made on this filly, or whatever it was, perfect. He was right. Much, much better the other night. And I think, give her a couple of starts, I think she will pace 52 and a piece, 53. That's the feeling I got. It certainly didn't seem to me like she was bottomed out in 54. I was kind of very careful with her in 54, and I think there's lots more under the hood. So, could be a good summer ahead. I know had a couple of people saying, Anthony, what are we going to get her to Ohio? We got a 5/8.5 here, and lots of speed waiting for her. There's more than enough money to race for in the numbers 1 and 2, all the way up to 20, 30,000 she can make in those classes. So, whether she's bombing around Scioto and Northfield and doing well there, or learning how to become a fast mare, there's still lots of money on both sides of the border. So she's not a sire stake filly over here. She'd be a Buckeye filly. They race for 20,000 in 5 legs. She's going to race from anywhere from 17 to 21 every week if she can do a Mohawk. Now that's important. She was 8th the other day, but I didn't really give her a chance to be anything more than 8th, and I don't think she was ready to be anything more than 8th. But I did feel that there was lots more there. We just started to get her rounded into shape and allow her confidence to build. I think she's in a good place. Austral Hanover, it was always, I always love our clients. They always pay attention to. It was always our plan to give Austral Hanover this week off, and then he has Stallion Series. We can train him heading in. Happy with his second last mile. The other day he seemed a little flat again, but it's so hard to gauge the poor bugger. Racing against horses with a lot more experience and quite a bit more age in most cases. And I thought the horse raced well the other day. Would like to see him finish 3rd. In fact, would like to see him kind of attack. But he just he was there. He tried 55 in the mud. No. It certainly wasn't a bad mile. But he's going to have next week off. He'll miss next Friday and then the race the following Saturday. Tim will probably put him in the race bike Tuesday or something, Wednesday maybe, and train him up. But he'll be plenty tight and a little fresher heading into the Stallion Series race, trying to get Tailgate Buzz in shape for those races also. Brace for Landing, we talked about him quite a bit in the start. Just really, really happy with the way he's turning out. and you know what? I know it bothers my wife because my wife takes care of Brace for Landing. Amy loves Brace for Landing, and she just can't pack the weight on him. And I know I've got a million, old horseman tricks to put weight on horses, but at the end of the day, we've used all those too. I've been around old horsemen my whole life too. And, whether it be high fat, high fiber, or beet pulp, or changing his feed, or, adding an additional feeding, we just can't seem to get him to. He eats as much or more than any horse in the barn, which is good. It just doesn't show up all the time in his rib cage. So we're trying to get the fat on him. Hopefully when now that there's some nice grass out here, out in the fields, maybe a couple of days a week we'd ship him out and let him just eat grass. Might be the trick too. So we'll get him under control, but man, what a fast colt. Carter Michael Dio, not our first injury. We had some injuries. We'll talk about them. I don't really want to do a video about injuries, but I think it's important that all of you understand we do have injuries. They do come up from time to time. Hi, bud. You ready to go? What do you need?
Do you want me to pack up all my stuff?
Yeah, pack all your stuff up, honey. So, Carter Michael Dio come up a little bit sore. Now, I'll tell you the whole timeline on Carter Michael Dio. So, after his first start, Johnny had jogged him the one day and had said, hey, Dominic and I were there, and he said, hey, this horse seems a little off left hind. He's a big colt. First start of the year. We didn't do a whole lot of vet work on him heading into that first start of the year. Finished second. Remember that start where James was like last, then come flying and finished second. So heading into his second start, we had the vet go over him. She thought his jack, which would make sense, and his stifle. I think we did the both. She may have shockwave therapied his jack also. He went out, and James said in the mile he was fine. No concerns with Carter Michael Dio. He won the race in 53. Very good. 2 days later, his jog said he's still off left hind. We had our vet look at him again. We did some vet work on him. Again, just trying to get this might sound like there's just a ton of vet work needed on this horse, but we're just trying to find the spot. And horses can't talk. And under X-ray or fluoroscope, it may look like there's a few spots in horses, but sometimes it's very difficult to pinpoint where the place is. And someone like Dr. McKee, I've watched her operate for 25 years since I've been up here, whether she was with McMaster or out on her own with her husband, Dan McMaster, sharp vet, and our current vet, Dr. Grosenbacher, we use him sometimes, sharp guy, and then Dr. Bosenjack, who is our vet right now, a younger girl, but still very, very sharp girl and understands her work. So, we did the work on him. I thought that was that. I was away training, racing Spitfire. Dominic said, geez, I went to train that horse. No, I was in Ohio racing the horses over here. And he said, train that horse Wednesday. He's not sound. Something's bothering him. So he had the vet come in, go all over him. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find where it was bothering him. Did some more vet work on him. It's going to be a costly month for vet work. Couldn't quite get him right. Took his shoe off, pulled his foot. Maybe it was a high nail a little bit, or a nail pinching him. Again, Dominic got up like 6 o'clock in the morning. We needed to put the shoe on him. Went out and jogged him. Still sore. Sent him over to the clinic. Now, there's a sense of urgency. He's about to be entered into the PA All-Stars. Or he was entered in the PA All-Stars. It doesn't look like it's acute lameness, but there's something there, and he's such a big, strong colt. He just won in 53. He's a type of horse that could easily hurt himself in a race. We need to know what's going on here. My concern was that it was one of those bone bruises that Lawmaker had, and that would have been devastating because they're extremely hard to manage. They're manageable. It's not my favorite. I would say my least favorite things, my least favorite injuries, not that there's any, would be suspensories, problem. Historically, problem. Bone bruise, problem. Everything else underneath that is manageable. Any of the broken bones, they heal. I would rather have a clean injury with a set path to heal and have it heal. Yes. I went through it with my wrist. It's fine now. And I tore the ligaments in this one, and it hurts like a bugger when it rains. There you go. So, spent all morning all afternoon at the clinic, taking x-rays in multiple areas. Now, couldn't figure out where it was, so they put a block, like you'd have in your teeth when they drill into your teeth. Now, doing that allows you to know, okay, if you block from the ankle below, and he blocks sound, so he comes sound, you know it's there. You don't need to look up in the stifle, up in the top area, in the hock, anywhere in there. You know where it is. It's localized. It's down there. It wasn't the foot. Wasn't the pastern. Got looking closely. Tiny, faint line, horizontal line in his sesamoid. Which, we knew it was an injury, right? Because he didn't inject sound. He didn't present soundly after we did vet work on him. He was sore. So we knew it was an injury. So of the injuries he could have had, that one was one of the best. Again, just historically speaking, as a layman, not a vet. Small little horizontal line in a sesamoid, a line in a pastern, an ankle. These things all heal, right? Foot, not that favorable. It's quite a bit more time involved. But Carter Michael Dio, I would suspect, now I told Dr. McKee, we have a ton of big races in the fall. This is not the end of the world. In fact, as I said to James earlier on, it's going to be really hard to keep these horses fresh all summer. There's just so much to do. We're trying to find a path forward in real time, and sometimes it's very fluid. Case in point. So, that faint line, 4 to 6 weeks, Dr. McKee said, in the stall. So, I would suspect at 4 weeks, we will re-x-ray that and try and get him in the pool for probably 3-4 weeks. And if that x-ray, that line is gone in that time frame, then he can start back. That puts him back to the races last week in August. There's still a ton of races for him, including the culmination of that entire year, which is the Breeders' Crown. So, not what we want to hear from Carter, but accidents will happen, injuries will happen, and of all the injuries we had last week, by far, my favorite would be Carter Michael Dio. So, he'll bounce back. Cash Dio's race good again. Somebody said, did she tie up? Was she sick, or is that her? That's always been her. She's just a horse. A nice little filly. right? I think she'll still be the favorite in the final. I think she's better from off the pace. But when you're 1-5 in a short field, you got to be on the front or near the front. You can't put yourself in a bad. Mario put her in the right spot. I thought she raced good. She get beat fair and square. Raced good. I expect as good or better race from her in the final, which probably puts her in the winner's circle or thereabout. So we'll see how Cash Deals goes, but just a run-of-the-mill, nice filly. Coupe de Ville, a little bit better, nicer filly. She's shown a lot of improvement physically and mentally. From a horseman's standpoint, this is what you want to see from a horse. Maybe a little bit of a troubled youngster where she caused some trouble and was really hot, made some breaks, made some mistakes, just more mental errors, issues physically, hitting her knee, getting out of gear. She needed the hobbles. Then to come back this year and just excel and excel and excel and turn into the horse we saw the other night. She's still a far cry from what her sister was at 2 and 3, obviously. But, man, what a beautiful trotter. And I really think as she starts to put some muscle on and some meat on, we can have a really nice horse here. I just don't know how it'll play out for her. We're going to stay to the Buckeye for now, probably for the rest of the season. I mean, that's Swinging Senorita's the step up. So, but, man, she's not that far off time-wise. 56-1, impressively first over at Northfield, as opposed to 55, 54 and a piece is kind of where Swinging Senorita likes it. I don't think she's that far off. It sounds silly to people, maybe Jason if he watches this video, or even me saying it out loud, because the birth between Coupe de Ville and Swinging Senorita was so massive in the past. It's hard to believe that she's closed in, but she's getting there, and she looks really, really, really good. Crantini, excited and scared about his race on Monday. He's just such a goof. You just never know, right? But had a good week. I know that Megan's been working on his feet. He had a quarter crack on one side. The name of the game with him is just keep him sane and keep him calm. It appears that in the race he'll do his work well, so happy about that. We'll see how that plays out. I know Mark is driving Spitfire Overseas. He's coming off a very, very big mile in Plainridge, and as much as I love Crantini, and there's a couple other really nice horses in there, Spitfire Overseas is going to come forward in a big way. He's got his head screwed on straight. He's sound, he's sharp, he's feeling good, he's coming in razor sharp, actually coming off the virus. You can see a very, very big mile from Spitfire Overseas, I believe. And Crantini. Cunning Connie, probably going to move Cunning Connie. I know there's a lot of clients out there saying we didn't even get to watch a race once. Well, when the Prospect Series isn't filling and the grassroots are a little tough and the Nommers at 2 doesn't fill, it's a problem in Ontario. And I'm sure they'll start to fill. But, when it comes to Connie, real decent 2-year-old trotting filly at 3, so-so. She's going to trot 57, 58, 59, maybe. Yes. That's not enough almost for the grassroots. It could be, maybe, but not quite. I just think it makes more sense to focus on even a horse like Cash Deals. Somebody might say, well, Cash Deals trotted in 59 in London. The other filly trotted in 50. Two very different horses. One's nice to be around, very useful. The other one is just kind of so-so and not as handy, to be honest, as Cash Deals. I know Cunning Connie can get out of there, but there's just not a lot of depth with Connie, and it's frustrating to me. So, I'm going to have a lot of thinking to do. I think we will probably race her in the Nommers at 2 somewhere, but we're going to have a lot of thinking, a lot of discussion. I think there's a couple of more horses that will be leaving us this week. We did sell a couple on the weekend in Dustin Hanover. We'll talk about it in a minute, I suppose. No, he's already off the board. Dustin Hanover left us, and so did Red Overbach. We're just trying to continue to move out the horses that are not going to be effective, and try and bring some more in that are, whether they're part-timers or full-timers. You see Era of Love. Had I predicted she'd win 3, hopefully 4 in a row, we would have had to change her course, figure out where we're going, but not a lot of places for non-winners of 5 mare like her. There is, but it's kind of deep water this time of year. So there's probably a spot somebody would really love her, maybe Harrington, or I don't know, somewhere like that. But as we have horses that can't do, if they can't do next week or the week after, then we have to ask ourselves when, why, and what are we going to do about that. So Cunning Connie, probably race her and move her next week. Cutie Cumber was very good in her last start. She'll be going to Vernon on the 29th for the what's it called, Excelsior race. Five Fish Species. I don't think Five Fish Species will be going to Vernon, but I can make an argument to send her to Yonkers. If we're going to race her on a half, and it seems like Sylvain has said she's better on a half, a little bumpy down the backstretch, probably needs a little work done. But if we're going to race her on a half and be effective, why wouldn't it be Yonkers, where they race for well over twice the money, that almost 3 times the money that London races for in Flamborough? We would like to put a good mark, have her on display in front of people that would be interested in her or in foals out of her. They still are always going to look down the road and say, okay, that exit strategy for Five Fish Species, she was a sister to Bomb Hugger, still could be a nice filly. Need to get her to like a Buffalo or Monticello or Saratoga or even Yonkers to race. But I think she'll excel on those tracks, and she should be out that way. So probably going to see Five Fish Species head down to Megan and Scotty, I suspect, in the near future. Gandalf the Black, gave him a week off, man. He's been such a treat to watch. Now, there's a horse that's just on the other side of that fence, right? We talk about that Cunning Connie and those horses. They just can't, they're not going to be super effective. But just on the other side of that fence is horses that are going to be effective. Gandalf the Black certainly looks like he's going to be effective and useful all year long, and just a nice horse to be around. So I can't wait to watch him race next week. Horn Player, again, very well-bred mare, trying to manage where she's going to be. I like how she raced for Chris Lems, and she got a week off. Eric had said she trained good this week, so I'm interested to see how she races on Monday. Landing Strip, trying to get him to come forward also in a bigger way. Nice colt. I thought he could have put out a little bit more, but then at mile 55 is a stretch for him. I'd like to see him improve just a little bit. Merchant Man didn't get in last week. It appears to me they went with one maiden and they took my 1% over this guy, which is frustrating, trying to get him moving also. So hopefully we can find a way to maneuver those two around. And if we can't, and they're only going to go with one maiden and they're not going to allow us to race the two of them, then I'm just going to send Merchant Man to the States, to Pennsylvania, where he's staked. And that's likely what will happen, I suppose. Mo Power Baby had a disappointing run in Indiana. We got her back here. She qualified awesome. She certainly likes Northfield Park. An easy winner in her qualifier in 57, and disposed of one or two pretty nice horses in doing so. Now, again, don't get too worked up. It was just a qualifier, but a very good mile for Mo Power Baby. More Than You Know has been absolutely fantastic his last two. Back-to-back wins in 150 and 4. He's going to be racing on Monday for Megan and Scotty. My 1%, what a difference in this horse. Just decided, and this is what it's all about. If they decide to turn the page and turn the corner and turn into nice horses, here we got a colt that trotted 56 and 4 last quarter, 27 and 4 in his first start back. And you can see, if you go back and watch his videos from the winter, he didn't look anything like this. He's another horse, real picky. His mom was, both his sisters were, really, really picky with eating and digestive stuff. So we have him on some medication for that. But if we can keep him happy, keep him hungry, keep him eating, I think my 1% could be a really nice horse for us all summer long. Nothing but a dreamer. Obviously, not what we wanted to do was start out the season sick, but Harry's done the right thing. Done the right thing by the horse in ensuring that, ensuring that the horse is healthy when he goes. So he'll be ready to go soon. There's no other issues other than that. Smoking Hot Irish Girl was awesome last week. 27 and 2 on the end of it. She's starting to learn to be a nice horse. Spitfire Overseas, I think James could be right. He could be one of our best ones, maybe ever. I know my feeling about Brace, but Brace has still got to do it. Making a break and coming a half in 53 is not trotting an entire mile and trotting in 53 in a piece. And an impressive mile from Spitfire Overseas, probably looking for a big mile out of him on Monday. Stay Special races today, I believe. Races one of those mini-series finals today in Kentucky, so interested to see how she does. Swinging Senorita was great the other day. Brett Miller drove her. She was second in 54 and 4, beaten by a colt that was second to Rumble Strips a week before, so no slouch there. Really nice horse. Tactical Mounts was great last night. Great mile from her. Kind of knifed through late in the mile to finish up and finish third. Just a great mile from her. Scotty and Megan doing a good job with that filly. Bright future ahead for her, I hope. Tailgate Buzz, got to get him back on track, Buzz. I know a lot of people down in the dumps about Tailgate Buzz. Listen, he's a horse. He's going to have his ups and he's going to have his downs. I thought we did the right thing sending him to Kentucky. I couldn't have been more wrong. It was not the trip I envisioned it being, and I hoped it would be. But that is racing. We have him back here now. We changed his shoes. We're going to school him hard this week at Northfield Park. His first race is not this, June the 3rd is his next race. So if there's a race before then for him, great. If there's not, we'll school him up and make sure he's ready to go for that race. And then Warwi Yuri, very rare break. Didn't expect that break from Warwi Yuri. I know Mario said the rail's a tough place to be. Probably get the vet to look at him this week and make sure everything's all right. But he seemed sound to me after everything looked good. Mario made no mention of any issues to me. He just thought the rail was a bad place for Warwi Yuri, and probably he's right. What a Mission. What a Mission's in a good spot on Wednesday. Tough bunch, but he's turned into a nice little horse. I can't wait to watch him race the rest of the season. He's just turned into such a sweet little horse to drive. Been racing good, continues to race good. Off a week, he'll be sharp this week. Can't wait to see What a Mission. Somehow I turned our 3-year-old video into 25 minutes. It's hard to do. So with that, I'll let you guys go. Gonna load the kids up, go to IHOP. Gotta vacuum this thing out. And then head to baseball today. I don't even know where we're playing. 45 minutes in the opposite direction of Guelph. So we're going to head down there in just a minute. So with that, I hope you guys are having a great weekend. We'll talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.